What do men want in women?
Yeah, because it's marriage.
Oh, first marriage. So how many times do you get married?
Well,
marriage is such a massive minefield.
Right.
so even in the night, she can't do that. She'll get a backhand. So my point.
This isn't going to be a sequel to an Andrew Tate show. I'm not looking to inspire little boys or men that still haven't gone through puberty and give.
It's her right to make for that lifestyle to be maintained. So if she wants a Gucci bag, Chanel bag, if she wants a Porsche 911 or whatever, and you can't afford that, then khalas yani. That's for her now to decide whether she's willing to make the compromise or not. But that's her choice.
Yeah. If you can tolerate her when she's angry, then it's good. It's a good one because you can tolerate her at her worst, and vice versa.
The ultimate decision is going to rest with the man. Because
what is your age category? What are you looking for in terms of age?
Ideally, 2 to 26.
22 to 26. So that's a 7-8 year difference. If I were to consider someone below 25, for argument's sake, they'd have to be exceptionally beautiful because they can't make it up. That's the only way they can make it up because they won't be able to interact with me. When do they show the true colours? It's when is it that...
when you seal the deal kind of thing, yeah? Like when you know she's yours,
That's when you show your true colours.
There's certain things you gotta hide, like in terms of you might not be comfortable with is sort of exposing one or two things.
Your fascist opinions.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Thank you for tuning in. I thank the audience. This is an entirely new show and it's called Silent Majority. Obviously the title itself is supposed to speak volumes here. The inspiration behind doing the Silent Majority is, as it says in the title itself, there are a lot of things that are not touched upon when we discuss matters that affect our communities. So this podcast itself, the entire podcast itself will touch on various different ills in society and communities that we all face, particularly South Asian Muslim men in Britain. And my job would be able to go through different facets, look at different perspectives, look at different pressures that all affect our decision making. The first thing that we'll be discussing today is what do men want in women? Now, obviously there's the textbook understanding of good looks, etc., but there's a lot of underlying things, almost like the unwritten constitution, that isn't spoken about, assumed, but not really enacted. So some of the conversation today would be geared towards understanding whether, if there is a constitution, do we follow it? Is the constitution blurry, or is it just a free-for-all? I've got 3 guests here with me today, all of South Asian ethnicity and heritage, different age groups, similar and different demographics. This brother here, Farid, he's of South Asian and Arab ethnicity. Exciting. We've got Iqbal sitting over there, who's of British Bangladeshi ethnicity, and Nahid next to him, who is of also British and Bangladeshi ethnicity. So the topic today, guys, is what do women want in men? Now, just a disclaimer, this isn't going to be a sequel to an Andrew Tate show. I'm not looking to inspire little boys or men that still haven't gone through puberty and give them sort of rage and inspiration. It's nothing like that. It's going to be insightful. It's going to be things that everyone else thinks, obviously your opinion, but everyone else thinks but never says. Yeah? So what do men want in women? For marriage purposes, not dating purposes. All right? Marriage purposes. Even though this won't be such an Islamic show, there's plenty of speakers out there, Islamic speakers out there that tell us about guidelines and what to look for Islamically. But what they don't do, in my opinion, they may do, is touch on things like financials, touch on hobbies, touch on soft skills, what they like about them, what they don't like about them. Obviously, when we delve into the conversation, some of these things we'll touch upon. Obviously, we are time limited. Nevertheless, I'm going to start with Iqbal. If you just quickly tell us your age, what you do for a living, without naming the organisation, just your profession and your education level, and any extracurricular things that you may do to enhance your education.
Cool, no worries. So I am 31.
Right.
I work in housing at the moment. I used to previously own a barber shop. I sold it about 2-3 months ago. And what was last bit?
Education.
Went up to college. I didn't go uni. College level.
Thanks for that. So I'm just going to quickly start off, and the title, just to reiterate, what do men want in women? So your spouse, what is it that you look for in your spouse? And this is a generic question. What is it that you look for?
Generic question, yeah, sure. So Obviously Muslim.
More specific.
More specific.
We're
Sure,
presuming
sure.
that they're Muslim. We're
Yeah.
presuming, that preferably Bangladeshi, or does it matter?
I mean, do you know what? Preferably Bangladeshi, but obviously because I'm 31, and obviously I'm a bit older now,
Right.
and maybe in the last year or so, I've kind of been like more open-minded to
Right.
other ethnicities.
Right.
I mean, I'll still sort of put my energy more towards a Bengali woman.
Right.
But as I got older, I'll be honest, I'm open. Like if he had a colleague that was Syrian and she's Muslim and
Nice.
she's practicing, she's a hijabi, and
Yeah.
he
So
wants to
on a po-
introduce me to her,
so-
I'll say hello, I'll be like,
Fair
yeah,
enough. So
yeah.
I want to take you
Go on.
away from the sort of
Yeah.
attraction and
Yeah,
whoever
sure.
that you could marry whoever you want.
Yeah, sure,
That's not
sure,
a problem.
sure, sure.
It's more the qualities that you're looking for. So you sort of mentioned it a bit. So
Yeah.
practicing hijabi.
Yeah.
So is that a
I mean, there's more. There's a little bit more to it. I would say the qualities would be someone quite feminine.
feminine?
I would say someone quite feminine.
Right.
Someone that's been brought up with like sort of the old culture. What I mean by the old culture is that someone that knows how to cook ideally.
Okay.
Ideally cook.
So domesticated.
Domesticated.
Yeah.
Someone. To be honest, another thing I've realised as I got a little bit older, if I speak to someone for marriage, or if someone introduces me to someone,
Right.
Obviously as long as they have older brothers or brothers of adult age,
Or guardians.
and a dad, the father,
yeah.
I'll see what kind of relationship they have. I think that as I got older, I start sort of digging into that a bit more, because the reason I look at that is because obviously after marriage, if you marry that girl, it's I think it's massively connected to the relationship they had with their men in the family.
Thanks. That's very interesting. So just to go back on your initial point.
Yeah.
Femininity.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Femininity, I would say. So we're talking about marriage. We're talking about relationships. So
No, we're talking particularly about feminine women.
Yeah.
Right, because there is, and I'm happy to say,
Yeah.
with terms of femininity and masculinity, it's almost blurred now.
Yeah.
So what do you mean specifically in terms of femininity?
Okay, so I would say softly spoken.
Softly spoken, okay.
Softly spoken.
But she can have a temper. Because everyone's got a temper.
Of course. That's fine. That's fine. That's
Right.
That's so softly spoken, kind, obedient. We're talking about marriage.
Obedient, okay, obedient.
We're
That's
talking about marriage,
interesting,
right?
yeah,
So
obedient.
obedient.
So when you say obedient, listen to you.
Yeah, listen to me. But
Right.
of course, I would have to be treating her correctly,
Right.
for me to expect that.
Right.
Did you get it?
So obedient, but challenge you when they see wrong.
Yeah, of course,
Right.
of course. Like if I am sort of how would I say it? Like Islamically, sort of what's the word, man? Meeting my obligations.
Right.
Then of course I'll obviously if I'm like I didn't pay the rent for 3 months, I ain't got a job, there's no fuel in the tank. Went to Nando's, I'm like, oh, where's my card? Then how I can't expect.
So
I can't expect obedience. in that aspect.
So what you're saying is,
Like, I can't expect it, can I?
depending on the man's financial status, depending on that financial status, whether it's poor or rich,
Yeah.
depends on what he can ask for. Is that what you're saying? Because you just said Nando's and a card. I mean,
What I mean by that is like, because Islamically, obviously, I know we're talking a bit more broader, we're talking in a broader sense, but I'm meant to try my best to sort of look after her, like in terms of
You should be
financial.
the provider.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy nowadays.
No, it's not.
Yeah, inflation's at 6.7% and whatnot. But you have to try your best, right? So
Sure.
if I am meeting that very hard task nowadays.
So what you're saying is a trade-off.
No,
So if you meet your financial obligations,
Yeah.
and just I digress here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men, that you're a businessman or you had a business of some kind.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men in our generation and the generations perhaps before us and behind us that are sort of on par with women now in terms of employment. And to be fair, in some regards, women are doing better than men.
Now women are
doing better than men. So when you say that you're going to be the financial,
I'll try.
you'll try to be your utmost. Given you the financial, if you've got the financial credibility,
Sure.
Yeah. So you're a rich man or relatively rich, all right? You're earning more than her. She needs to be obedient.
I mean, look, it's not only financial, because every man, every good man, Muslim man, deserves an obedient wife.
Deserves.
Obedient wife.
Okay,
of course.
right.
Why not?
That's a key word here. Deserve. Fair enough.
Of course they deserve. If they're a good person.
Yeah.
They try their best. They're kind. They look after her. They they don't, you know, they're loyal, they treat her well when her family, then of course I think she should be obedient to her husband. But I'm saying that's how I look at it.
Yeah, you know what, I respect that, and we'll sort of delve into that later on. I just want to ask you, would you prefer an introverted girl or an extroverted girl?
Introverted girl, extroverted girl.
So, just for audience purposes, and maybe even yours, extroverted is someone that's quite confident, can be articulate. Yeah. Perhaps they don't know how to speak properly, but they talk a lot. They're confident. They're bubbly. They're the voice of the room usually. Sure. Would you prefer someone like that, or someone meek, shy, doesn't really speak, speaks when they're spoken to, and really comes out of the show perhaps after a prolonged amount of focus and attention?
Do you know what? For the first one, introverted.
Introverted?
Yeah.
You like an introverted girl?
I mean, the first marriage, yeah, because it's marriage.
Oh, first marriage. So how many times do you get married?
Well, obviously, Allah knows best. Like, I think 2 times is fine.
2 times,
yeah. Four is not. It's
so
happening.
when you say 2 times, it's simultaneously, right? Not divorce and marriage.
No, it can't be simultaneous. As I mean, like straight after.
No, as in you'd have 2 wives, not a divorce and then another wife. You'd have 2 wives together.
I mean, obviously, I don't know. If I might, I'll say, yeah, why not? Like, depends on my health, wealth. So say I get married tomorrow.
Right.
For example, what am I? 31 here. I'm 31 here.
Right.
And when I'm 41,
sure.
If I'm financially doing okay in 10 years standard,
right.
I've got I could house another woman.
Right.
And I'm looking somewhat youthful for my age.
Good for you.
Obviously, whatever's happened, and I'm like, if I'm 40 and I'm looking 50, then
sure.
I can't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? But if I'm looking at somewhat young, healthy, Allah's blessed me with health.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
I've got energy.
Yeah.
I've still got a lot of energy.
Sure.
You know? It's not haram, is it? I mean, but the first one, introvert. Yeah.
I respect that. So just quickly summarise.
First one's got to be introvert.
Summarise. So you get married once. You'd have kids with her.
Yeah.
You'd make sure she's happy, etc. And 10 years down the line, you'll be like, I feel like getting married again because, I've got certain needs that I want met, or I can.
Yeah.
I can have 4 wives. Why not? So that's what you're saying.
It depends on, it's all situational.
Listen, I get what you're saying, and I respect
it. Probably might not happen. Probably not going to happen.
Quickly. How many men do you think like that? Those men that are married.
Ooh.
Do you think they've got the bottle?
Do you know what? Joyce, unfortunately, I don't think they have the bottle, but their nature.
So you're saying nature,
it's
human nature.
Down.
So they think it, they dream about it. Having 2 or 3 wives, maybe.
Look, I haven't even got a wife. I'm thinking about 2.
Yeah,
I think this is how. I mean,
yeah.
I think what's happened is our men's natures have been suppressed to a certain extent in the last 20, 30 years.
What? Yeah, I get that.
And I think it's our nature, man. Okay, forgetful. Like it's our nature, man.
There's various studies, and I read one today before I came onto this show from Psychology Today, and they said a man will think about over 1,000 women, sometimes simultaneously over a course of period, without even. It's not a hard task to do. Of a sexual nature, So,
normal.
Right, thanks for that, Iqbal.
Cool.
I'll come back to you later. I'm just going to move on to my next guest, Nahid. If you quickly tell us your employment, your education level, and then we can get cracking.
Right, so currently I work in construction. I deal with contractors and whatnot.
Sure.
Had a fairly decent education, GCSEs, A-levels and whatnot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it,
Right. And just quickly, like Iqbal, just a brief outline of what you're looking for, red flags.
So I would say generally most men want the same things. Like obviously beauty is subjective. We all want someone that we can sort of indulge with and that whatnot. Personally, I want someone that's ideally committed. I think commitment's a big issue nowadays.
So you think women have
not all. I've got to be careful. You know what I mean? But I'll say generally now commitment is a big issue in sort of getting young people and whatnot. You know what I mean? So I think commitment's one big thing, and I was just say someone that's a bit coherent in during marriage, you know what I mean? You don't want someone that's gonna come and have a look. You don't want barmies and whatnot, you know what I mean? All the time.
So you don't want any drama. You want someone that's relatively submissive. Ideally, relatively submissive.
Yeah. Supportive as well. It's got to be unconditional. You know what I mean?
So a friend.
It's got to be more than that.
More than a friend.
No.
Best friend then.
Yeah, it's got to be someone unconditional. You know what I mean? Someone that. You're gonna abide with the rest of your life and all that,
Right. And in terms of religiosity, what are your preferences?
So ideally, I'd want someone that is on deen.
Yeah.
Of course. I think that's the end game, innit? Do you know what I mean? So other than that, in terms of aesthetics, I'm not really gonna dumb down on how she looks and what in terms of what she wears.
So when I talk about religiosity, rather, there's levels and
of course,
it's subjective to who you're asking.
Yeah.
But let me just lay the foundation.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone that prays 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Which is a fundamental in Islam anyway.
Of course,
but
yeah.
I think now someone that does pray 5 times a day, you would consider religious, given what's going on in the
Yeah,
world.
which is a sad thing.
Yeah. However, so someone that prays 5 times a day, someone perhaps observe the abaya, or does that matter to you?
To say it doesn't matter is quite bold, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether she does or not, it doesn't really bother me. I need a good quality of life within her, innit? Do you know what I mean?
Right,
So,
so
I wouldn't judge her on what she wears.
Okay, so the headscarf doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter to me. No.
Everything else
No.
aligns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's interesting, because it's going to nicely segue onto another thing that I'd like to ask you, and this is quite a complex question. Now, we're from, and this is just a general comment to everyone here actually, South Asian men, amongst other ethnicities, even the weakest of us are very masculated and masculine in comparison to all other ethnicities. And the reason I explain that is this. When you get married, or any of us get married, inshallah, right?
Sure.
You get married, or if you're married already, whatever it may be, you have expectations and demands from your family, right?
Yeah.
Your fam, your mum, your father, your siblings even perhaps.
To a certain extent.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Equally, in the same breath, her parents will have expectations, demands.
Of course.
You fit into a role and responsibility, right?
I think the onus is more on the man.
Yeah, on the man. But you'll have roles and responsibilities, right?
Course, yeah.
It's not just, you're not married purely, you're not marrying just the girl. There's other things, there's other conditions that need to be met.
Because we're Asian, we're Muslim, we've got to think about the family and I want to,
If I may. Further to that, for instance, the headscarf thing. Now, I respect your point. It's up to you whether you accept it or not. In my opinion, she needs to have a headscarf.
Right, okay,
If she doesn't wear a headscarf, it would be a prerequisite ahead of that. And I'll tell you why it'd be that. Firstly for my deen.
Of course.
And not just that. In addition to that, and these are the things that really aren't addressed in other podcasts or other Islamic, what you should be looking for. If your wife didn't wear a headscarf.
Mannerism.
If your wife didn't wear a headScarf, for instance, it's all right with you. It's your life, right? That's what Britain sort of promotes. Your life, freedom, and all the rest of it. Your mum, your auntie, your next door neighbour, your mosque, which is our community, your area, even your friends and peers. Oh, she doesn't wear a headscarf. Oh, you're right. Yeah, she's lovely and stuff. But then when I go and talk to Iqbal afterwards, oh, did you know she doesn't wear a headscarf? Or especially those 50, 60-year-old women. Oh, have you seen her? Ghastly. Not from even a religious perspective. This is a cultural perspective. And it's those pressures alongside other pressures like, and I'll just digress again, if you're the eldest son and you're the only son in the family, most of our parents, obviously when we become parents, inshallah, it'll be different, but most of our parents are immigrants, right?
Of course.
And they've transported their culture from back home here, where they expect everyone to live everywhere, together. So if you, for instance, are the only boy, the only son, only child, your mum and dad, more so your mum, would like you to stay in that house.
Right.
In the house that you're staying in. So your wife will marry and come and stay with you. Now, most 99% of women in this country, girls and women,
don't want to do that,
they want someone that can provide accommodation, if not immediately in the foreseeable future, whether it's 1 year or 2 years. Now that person that's the spouse here is in a bit of a dilemma here, because he's getting pressurized by his parents to stay. He's getting pressurized by his wife, which is her right for her to have her own accommodation. And then there's a financial problem as well. Say for argument's sake, what's the average age in London? Salary in London, 40 or 1,000?
It's under, man.
Let's say about 40,000. Let's say about 40,000. Let's say he's doing okay. 40,000. That translates into what? £2,500 a month after tax, maybe a bit more. How much is it? 2,600 maybe?
Do you know what? Just under that. And I think the average one-bedroom rent, I was checking something the other day, across London, so this could be east, north, south, west. The average one bedroom is just under £1,400.
But
so, you say 2.5K.
So put the expenses to aside. This individual not only has to emotionally satisfy his parents and his wife. His wife has a right over him, his parents have a right over him. And it feels like he's been pulled in two different directions, and there's a financial pocket stretch here as well.
That's the life of the man, isn't it? You know
but
what I mean?
that's, again, irrespective. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is us in compared to other ethnicities, whether it's Africans, British Africans, the English, or all the other ethnicities, they get married and they do what they want. It's their life. And you know what? Sometimes I admire that. Whereas us, we've got to satisfy our neighbours, our communities,
what it is
our
like,
mosques.
We're a bit tribal like that, you know what I mean? Which is holding us back as a community. So me personally, I try not to get culturally too inclined.
You're not too culturally integrated.
I think it's a bit of a rabbit hole, like, you know what I mean?
Do you think?
Yeah, you get held back a bit in life, and you got to make family happy, primarily, you know what I mean? But other than that, I don't think you should look. There's a lot of issues in the community where you can get held back, and you got to make 20 people happy before you make yourself happy. You know what I mean?
It's true. And
sometimes you got to detach yourself a bit more, just put a better quality of life in it later on down the line.
It has caused a lot of people a lot of grief, and I've heard personal anecdotes of people, it's destroying marriages for argument's sake. I think there's good and bad in both ways, and we're not here to delve into that. So just a bit more about what is that you're looking at. What are the red flags? What would make you run them up?
Right. So I'll say women that sort of act in a masculine manner.
Masculine.
Sort of
interesting. He said feminine, you said masculine.
Yeah,
Same thing. Go on. Tell me. Expand.
They're not cordial. They're sort of loud, obnoxious.
Right, obnoxious is quite strong.
Personally, I would say I wouldn't care if my sort of future partner is successful or not. I'm not really into like how much money she makes and whatnot. That's up to me. We all got gender roles in it. You know what I mean? So as long as she's like, you know, supportive, unconditional and whatnot, the rest is on the man, innit? You know what I mean? So yeah.
So obnoxious. So loud. Or comes across
argumentative.
As argumentative.
Yeah.
Right, obnoxious, loud, argumentative. Someone you don't really care about their finances.
You know what really does mean when women say like, "Oh, he can't handle me." Now, why does a man need to handle a woman? Do you know what I mean? He wants to come home. He wants someone supportive, calm. Do you know what I mean? And it's just causing a bit of like barmy and which men don't need in life. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So handling. So someone that's someone's not that's not too boisterous. Funnily enough, though, both of you, I can see a correlation here. Is that, and again, maybe South Asian men. Listen to me, I'm a proper fan, and I have South Asian men. Is the fact that we own our, we own it. We take accountability of being a breadwinner and provide. Because I've seen many other ethnicities where the man's at home cooking and cleaning, and we'll come on to domestics, cooking and cleaning. Oh yeah, honey, you go and provide and be the breadwinner. Let's talk about ourselves, eh? But irrespective, the theory matters. That whether you're on £2 an hour now or £2,000 an hour now or annually, whatever it may be, you take it with honour and great pride to provide. Whether that translates into, you might, risk is risk, right? Comes back to Islamic terms. Risk is Allah will provide you, but it's a mentality, right? So someone that's not obnoxious, introvert, extrovert.
Introvert.
100%. So introvert to you as well.
100%.
Right, and in terms of education level, because this is where it gets, because we're modern Britain. Most of us, speak English, we were born here. It's different. Our culture's different. We're not. We're first, second generation British now.
Yeah.
In terms of education, would it be intimidating if someone had a degree or a postgrad and had a successful job? Would that be intimidating to you?
That's not intimidating. No, that's quite. I'll say welcoming. Right. Like I said before, it doesn't. I don't care whether she's earning X.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me. Sure. We're looking at inequalities of women. Right. Now, women, on the other hand, will look at money, what a guy can provide. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's women want different things to men, and men want different things to women. Right. What we want is like we can go into sort of retail, McDonald's job, find someone, and we can make it happen. But women on that haven't got other demands. So she might want someone that's taller than her, makes more money than her. Yeah. So there's more of a natural criteria mechanics with women.
So you're saying, and perhaps I haven't...
which makes it harder for normal men.
Okay. Perhaps I haven't asked you the question correctly. So if someone has a degree, most do, even a postgraduate, I'm just trying to highlight their educational stance, that's going to translate into a really good job. Now, someone that's earning, I don't know, at the higher threshold, paying the 45%, 50% tax.
Right, yeah.
Yeah? You mentioned qualities like obnoxious, which is subjective, or someone that's opinionated or quite demand-led. Yeah. Now, any human being, man or woman, that has independence, because she has independence, she doesn't really need you, does she? Does she?
No, she does.
Why does she need you?
Because women need men, ideally, yeah. Right, so in the long run of life, you do. So, in the long run of life, yeah.
Perhaps I'll reword or rephrase. Financially, she doesn't need you.
Okay.
If she earns more than you, she doesn't need you.
100%,
right?
yeah.
And that could be the case these
financially,
days.
she doesn't need me. No, financially, she doesn't need me.
If she doesn't need you financially, and I think, unfortunately for us, in this world that we live in, finances give even the most meek and weak people voices.
It's a sad reality, yeah.
It is a sad reality. Yeah. So that's the question. I'm going back to my question here.
Yeah.
So will you be intimidated if she earns more than you, or has a a high-flying job. That comes with, because that sort of person, if she's getting paid 60, 70, 80, 90 odd plus, she's in a managerial position.
Right, yeah.
She has a lot of confidence.
Right,
she's
yeah,
articulate. She manages people. She's a leader.
Do you know what? I get what you're saying. A woman that is earning that much will not look at a man earning under her threshold.
Okay.
She won't look at it.
Okay. So it's quite off-putting.
No, it's not off-putting for me.
Not
It's off-putting for her. For her,
Okay,
100%.
so it's off-putting
She
for
wouldn't
her.
look at you. She
Okay,
wouldn't.
okay.
Yeah, 'cause she needs someone better than you.
She doesn't.
Yeah.
So Iqbal wants to come in.
Go on.
Quickly, if you
Yeah,
don't
sorry,
mind.
I'll be brief.
Because I've got to speak to this brother here.
Sorry, I'll be brief. So basically, do you know what? Even though I didn't go like uni and I got masters and stuff.
Sure.
And when I bump into women that have like masters and degree, like masters in whatever, could be optometry or ophthalmology or accounts.
Big words. Yeah.
Academic, yeah, she's up there,
Yeah.
I find it refreshing, man, because I'll be honest, I went to college for about 6 months and I left. And that's not what to do, little boys and girls. But I'm saying is, when I bump into them kinds of individuals, whether female or male, cousins, neighbors, I find it refreshing.
You know what,
I'm not intimidated. Intimidated. And another thing I realised, generally speaking, this ain't easy. This is not easy to execute. If you meet someone,
Right.
okay, we're talking about marriage, right?
Yeah.
Forget like mates and cousins.
Course.
So if you're talking about marriage, right, and you meet someone,
Yeah.
and the woman really likes you,
Yeah.
and you know how to play your cards right,
Sure.
she could soften down for you a bit.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, she could,
Very good answer, actually, and that's a question that has been asked.
But you got to be that 1% of man for her to do that.
1%.
Yeah, you got to be that 1% of man.
No,
And
listen.
But both of you, if I
It's
may,
hard, it's really hard.
this is
It's
going
really
into a free.
hard.
Relax.
Sure.
Both of you, if I may, have said that you want someone that's introverted, preferably meek. Yeah, I'm telling you, at odds, and with statistics, someone that earns or is educated to a certain degree or has a funny, bubbly personality, won't be meek, and probably will be feisty. And if they are. And again, these are experiences. I haven't got statistics to back it up. But you're saying you wouldn't mind that. And I asked you if it would intimidate you. You said you wouldn't. But what you're looking for is someone that's an introvert, someone that's meek, someone that's submissive. And submissive is almost used as a derogatory term.
Sounds a bit barbaric nowadays.
It's not barbaric.
It's not, yeah.
But anyway, I'll come back to both of you. Thanks for that. Last guest. Wise. MashaAllah. So, Brother Farid, if you introduce yourself, explain your profession or what you do and your education level.
Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi sallim. So I am 45 years old.
MashaAllah, you look very good.
Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
I'm 45 years old. I graduated in physics from a good university many years ago now. You probably weren't born. I'm definitely the wild card here, right? So I'm definitely going to have impressions and perceptions which are different to the young brothers who are sat opposite me and yourself, because you're a young brother too, aren't you?
Well, 30 now, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you've raised such interesting points. But I'll tell you what, let me open with what I used to put on my profile on one of these Muslim apps.
Interesting.
Right? Marriage is such a massive minefield. And what I used to say, it's actually a Chinese expression which the Arabs took. But what they say about marriage is, they say, الزواج قلعة محاصرة. Marriage is like a fortress under siege. من كان خارجها يود الدخول إليها. Those on the outside would love to break in. ومن كان داخلها يود الخروج منها. But those on the inside would love to break out. Okay, so it's something that I think people are seeking. And in terms, if I was talking about myself here, being quite honest, I've been through a lot of phases. What you seek in your 20s, let's say, is very different to what you seek in your 30s. And again, it changes again in your 40s. I'm just going to touch on some of the things you asked. When you talk about Islamic rights and stuff, I think the first thing to bear in mind is that the rights of the woman are very important. And we're a panel of 4 men here, right? The imara, what's the word in English? The command, so to speak, or the authority sits with the man Islamically, always. But let's not forget that we have to fulfill all of the rights of the woman in order to achieve that. And then to actually demand it, we have to be in that position. What people tend to do Islamically, and this is a big bugbearer for me, is we take from what is beneficial to us from Islam. So for example, when you're growing up and you speak to your parents, haqqul walidain, like they talk about the rights of the parents, but the rights of the child begin before the rights of the parents. So if I was to throw the Islamic dimension in here, we're told that a child has 3 rights over the father. Okay? The first one is to give the child a name that he can be proud of. Waliur Rahman. MashaAllah.
Beautiful name.
What a beautiful name, right?
Yeah.
The second is to give him a mother that's intelligent. So when you're talking about picking a woman, intelligence is very important. Okay, for me personally, at my age. Now, intelligence doesn't need to be quantified through academic achievements.
Accolades, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, if you cast your memories back, grandmothers, how intelligent were they, and what kind of education? They're not doctors, they're not PhDs, they don't have anything of the kind, right? But they gave you wisdoms that you can't find with people with PhDs in this age. And the third thing that the child has a right over is that he's taught the deen. So that they're the 3 things.
So if I may summarise, that was, I've always become religious and started speaking in Arabic in my limited Arabic language sense. So 3 things that you've summarised is intelligence, very important, and I think for me that's very important as well, because before all else, beauty and everything else dies down, but intelligence doesn't. And depending on who you are, if you like to conversate, or you're interested in ideas and complexities and whys and the whats, and having a meaningful debate with your other half, it becomes almost, it's a companionship, right? You become friends. What do you think about this or that and the other? And then you delve into, so intelligence is one thing for you. Someone that's religious.
See, this is the thing, right? So
you said deen, children and deen.
Yeah, this is I'm talking about Islam and what Islam says that the rights are that the child has over the father. So I was talking within that context. When we talk about religiosity, I think it's a very important topic. Now, we have to understand the age that we live in, okay? So we are people of immigrant heritage, 2nd, maybe 3rd generation immigrants, growing up in the UK, culturally very different from Islam, okay? One of the issues I find with sisters, I'm jumping the gun here, is that, one person put it quite eloquently. He said, some sisters have feminism with a sprinkling of Islam on it, right? As opposed to Islam with a sprinkling of feminism.
They become liberals, yeah.
Yeah. So, and liberalism is the religion of the age, right?
Yeah.
Subhanallah, like, what was that?
MashaAllah.
So, religiosity, right? So, because the brothers mentioned this, right? Now, for me, someone practicing the deen, right, isn't as important as having a love for the deen. And I'll explain to you why, okay? Because you can practice the deen because you've been raised in the deen. You can wear the hijab because your parents told you to wear the hijab from the age of 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever.
You've been conditioned in wearing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I prefer a person who is a thinker. I prefer a person who understands the religious obligations and came to a free choice.
And sees the beauty of it, yeah.
And then from that free choice, see, the thing is, when you have an attachment and a love for Islam, you're more likely to stay upon it. Whereas if you're doing something under compulsion and the Quranic verse is very clear, everyone knows, everyone quotes it, La ikraha fi ddin, there's no compulsion in religion. It's referring to people outside of Islam, by the way. So intelligence, yes. In terms of deen, a love for the deen.
Aspirations.
Aspirations for the deen, absolutely.
Sure.
That's important. If you talk about deal breakers, for me, the biggest deal breaker, and I've had abundant experiences with women, is kibriya, like arrogance.
Arrogance.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting word in Arabic. If I could just go into
Please,
that.
it's very interesting. Yeah.
So obviously, it's coming from the word kabir. Takabbur means to make yourself bigger than what you are.
Sure.
Okay, and the actual English word for arrogance is coming from a Latin root, arrogare, which means to claim for yourself something that you don't actually have possession of. Okay, and the Sufis have a nice saying about arrogance and humility. They say, if you're aware of your humility, then you're arrogant, because humility is a condition where you believe yourself to be lower than where you actually are. So I'm looking for humility in a sister, but not self-declared one. So if you actually go onto these Muslim sites,
Sure.
you'll find veiled compliments about themselves.
Okay.
For example, they'll say something like, my friends described me as very humble. Really, you want to say you're humble, don't you?
Yeah.
You just want to veil it by saying it's your friend. That's a deal breaker.
Mashallah.
And I think if you have the fundamentals, because the thing with marriage, right, and the thing with existence for us from the Islamic paradigm is that we're going to have fitna. We're going to have tribulations in life, right?
Always,
You're going to be married, you're going to have fitna, right? if you have the grassroots fundamentals, if you refer back to Islam for your solutions in everything, then you can have commonality, you know. But ultimately, and this is going to be very controversial for sisters listening, the ultimate decision is going to rest with a man, because when Allah legislates, He gives leadership to a particular group, right? And that's not to say that men should oppress women. Men should listen to the ideas of women. We should have a healthy dialogue. You know, if you look at the Sunnah of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, you know, and how is he described? Uswatun Hasana. He's described as the best example for us. So we should always look to him. See, how did he treat his women? You know, he, you know, Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha would ask him questions about things that she didn't understand, and how did he address that? You know, so we have to be kind, compassionate, full of mercy when dealing with our sisters. You know, and I'm going to say this. It's probably going to be very controversial. I mean, we're discussing these things within the backlog of such tragedy in the occupied Palestinian territories at the moment, right? You know, we have to really take ownership and say to ourselves, if the men had behaved in the manner that they should have, our sisters wouldn't be suffering.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to one sister, I remember, not for marriage, but she said something that is really struck a chord with me. You know, it burnt inside me. She said, when men start to behave like men, women will start to behave like women.
Thank you very much, Brother Farid. That was definitely very insightful. I am going to put a spanner in the works here with you,
Go ahead.
because you've said things that are generic, but ideally, what we all want, but ideally, you know, someone that's religious, someone that's intellectual, and that comes in many forms. And I'm going to ask you a question that a lot of people, perhaps not your age, a bit younger, especially when they're more materialistic, when they want to drive the nice cars and wear the Chanel bags. So if a woman came to you that's not materialistic, but she has desire, she wants to go on 3 holidays a year, for instance, or 2 holidays a year, she's you know, or she wants a nice bag, or she's used to dressing well, she's used to going to nice restaurants. How would you react to that? Would that be off-putting for you?
Good question. No, it wouldn't be off-putting for me, and I'll tell you why. Because there's an issue of compatibility in marriage, right? So classical Islamic jurisprudence, ahkam, fiqh, I follow the Shafi'i school myself. They talk about compatibility, right? So, for example, if you're a tailor, this is the example used, right? Tailors make a lot of money now, right?
Yeah,
so
nowadays.
imagine they didn't, right? Go way back.
100 years, yeah.
Right. A tailor is not a suitable proposition for a merchant's daughter. So as men, when we marry, we have to recognize that if a woman is accustomed to a particular type of lifestyle, it's her right to make, for that lifestyle to be maintained. So if she wants a Gucci bag, Chanel bag, if she wants a Porsche 911 or whatever,
nice. Yeah.
and you can't afford that, then khalas yani. That's for her now to decide whether she's willing to make the compromise or not.
Yeah.
But that's her choice. So if there was a sister, to answer your question,
Sure, yeah.
who wanted that lifestyle and I can't afford to maintain that, then it's like, look, I can't give you that, right? But here's my value in other areas. Now it's for her to make the decision. I can't impose anything on her.
I'll delve a bit further, and I'm going to be a bit
Further.
difficult here.
Further, go ahead.
Because I feel like you're giving me appropriate answers.
Go ahead.
So that was an obvious, I want this, that, and the other, but more so the psyche.
No.
Let's go and delve into the psyche a bit more. So someone that, forget the materialistic stuff, but someone that's perhaps, say in their 20s,
Right.
mid-20s, you know, aspiring to become, I don't know, a solicitor or a barrister, what may be, and they're looking for like, they're a professional in their own right. Yes, they adhere to the Sharia and Islam, and they pray for their 5 times a day, they're aspiring to become knowledge and stuff like that. But in terms of, she's a professional in her nature, in her mannerisms, the way she speaks, even the way she conducts herself. So the only thing that differentiates her, and it's a massive differentiation, or distinction actually, is her religion and ethnicity. How would you deal with that? Because she's not demanding that she wants a Gucci bag or anything, but you can tell that she's high standards.
Yeah, very good question. So if you gauge that from the outset, then you likewise have a decision to make. Like when in the early stages, when you're getting to know a sister for marriage, and by the way, just because I think my fiance might be watching this.
Mashallah.
Allah barik fik. So yeah, so you know, alhamdulillah, you know, she was definitely worth the wait. You know, it took some
Good for
time,
you.
but alhamdulillah.
You grafted, yeah?
Huh?
You grafted.
Alhamdulillah.
Good for you.
You know, Allah, everything in Allah's time, right? Not
Yes.
in our own. Okay, so to answer your question, if you find that a sister is inclined that direction, we have to be intelligent. You know, you're crossing a road, you see traffic, you see a car coming, you're gonna move out the way, right? Life is like
That's a
that.
solid example.
Yeah, you know,
That's a solid
life
example,
is like that. You know, so if you know that there's going to be a collision, there's going to be some sort of something to deal with, then you have to deal with it. So if you know that sister is inclined in a particular way, and that's something that you could probably never cater for, then jog on. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's time to like just walk on and leave her for somebody. You know, someone, mashallah, like yourself, young, handsome, successful.
I wouldn't say that.
All like these brothers here.
No.
You know, leave it for them, because you see, what I remember, and I always go back to Islam, or try to go back to Islam as much as I can, because Islam offers the solutions. You know, and you are going to have a predominantly Muslim audience. You know, there is a saying, there is a tradition that if a righteous man comes for the hand of your daughter, and you refuse, then wait for the fitna. Because you have to really look now carefully. I've been on apps, I've gone through family connections and whatnot.
Yeah.
One of the things that you'll really see is that there are sisters in their 30s, 40s, and even 50s who aren't married.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's an endemic.
Absolutely. And it's different for a woman than a man. You know, they want to build their careers, they want to advance themselves, because they probably seen how their mothers were treated. You know, in terms of, well, you know, she's subservient, she's in the kitchen, she's doing X, Y, and Z. I want to be independent.
Yeah.
Financial independence, right, and choice is, I think, what's caused the marriage problem.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm just going to quickly wrap that up. I'll just go on your the fact about independence, because one of the conversations I was having, and I'll be asking you boys questions now, the other day actually, in the last 50, 60 years, a lot hasn't changed for men. And what I mean by that is, you know, we still are enjoying the status quo of what our fathers enjoyed to some degree, right? We're still expected to earn, we're still doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
However, women, Muslim women, I could talk about South Asian, Arab women, from that continent of the world, you know, that lineage, they've had a massive transformation in this country. Firstly, they're educated. Secondly, they can earn their own money. Thirdly, they've got the freedom and desires to do what they like. So all of that needs to be factored in. So just to sort of cement your point, thank you very much. That was very insightful, and hopefully the audience appreciates it, because that was delivered very articulately. Just for you, Iqbal, question to you. Age. This is a very juicy topic. In terms of age, you're a 31-year-old man now, 31-year-old man. And again, putting to aside someone that you know, she could be older than you, younger than you, you catch feelings, all the rest of it, right? That's different.
That's different.
Because all rationality goes out the window then, you know, you're weak in the knees. But if you're not weak in the knees and you don't know her, what is your age category? What are you looking for in terms of age?
Ideally,
yeah, the ideal here. But your opinion as well.
My opinion,
I don't want you to give me a textbook answer, I want your opinion.
Now, I'll be honest. I'll say 22 to 26.
22 to 26, so that's a 7-8 year difference. Well, we're not 26. Say, let's take the median, right? 24.
I would say the latter is more in this day and age. Let's be honest. Men, women, we are not in the West. We are not as mature as our grandparents.
Sure.
So I'm not saying all 22-year-olds, but I've got 22-year-old cousins, women.
All right.
And they're not. I wouldn't say they're women yet, even though like they became adults at 18.
Sure.
So I would say the latter more, unless.
So median 24.
If someone's 23, and they're really mature,
sure,
fine. But it'd probably be the latter more.
25.
You know,
24, 25.
Yeah.
And just in terms of reasoning, give me quickly one or two reasons on why that they're that age.
Okay.
Or from that age, why?
All right, I'll be so. Look, I could end up marrying a 29-year-old.
No, I get that, but why is this an ideal thing? Why the early 20s? You're a bit like DiCaprio, aren't you?
No. Okay, I wish me. Do you know what it is? There's two main reasons. I'll be honest. Even Islamically, I think Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says for men, the second most important to you. Remember, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay. The second most important to you thing for a man should be beauty. It's actual hadith, innit? So I think, look, not being bad, women are more, they're beautiful, they're pretty. We're men, innit? We're meant to be like whatever, innit? So my point is like, a woman that is younger, she will generally be able to like hold the beauty longer.
What you're saying is there's a span, a time frame that women have that they really shine if they're beautiful. Is that what you're saying?
No, don't get me wrong. A woman could be beautiful at 31, of course. but she was definitely more beautiful at 23. I'm not saying she's becoming.
So again, and I appreciate your honesty
Yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah.
If I can just summarise,
Yeah, yeah.
you're saying they're in their prime,
Yeah.
in their early to mid 20s, and as they get older, their beauty declines.
It's gradual. It's not like yeah, I'm 30 and I'm. You know,
It's not
I'm done.
nosedived.
You know, it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
So a beauty is.
And there's one thing, and
what's the second?
I'll try to give one more point.
One more point, please.
I feel like if I'm do marry a 24-year-old, for
Yeah,
example,
sure.
I have a longer runway.
Fertility, you mean?
Fertility-wise, I've got a longer runway.
Sure.
We're not rushing. Say, for example, I'm 31, so
Yeah.
I marry a 30-year-old, same age, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. It's like, when the car's done, yo, what's happening? What's going on? My
going
sister's
to the
talking about
Bahamas.
kids. Bahamas. My sister's talking about kids. Just that, like, there's so much pressure. And the molding element, remember? Remember, in the Asian, alhamdulillah, in the Asian community, and even in the Arab community in Britain,
Sure, yeah.
women are really educated now.
There's similarities, yeah.
They're really educated, they have careers, they're getting promoted, they're doing the masters, they're doing the extra like courses to like further the career.
Yeah.
So what, like we said that when a woman generally is deep into her career,
Yeah.
let's be honest, we don't need men financially. They've had all they could do. A woman could go 11 o'clock, call her mate and be like, yo, let's go spice up 6 wings and chips, chili sauce, mayonnaise, no problem. Like,
Right.
so even in the night, she can't do that. She'll get a backhand. So my point is,
okay, yeah, go
my
on.
point is that a 23-year-old woman. No, what do you mean in the 90s? In the 90s, imagine
What do you say backhand? What do you mean?
a backhand like in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Can say for example you're 30 and you've got 22-year-old sister. She's like, I'm going out with my mates at 10 o'clock.
That's not happening.
Don't know what's gonna happen.
But anyway,
So going back to my point. Going back to my point is
Moldable.
she's more moldable at
Yeah,
23 because
yeah.
she hasn't been.
So when she's a bit older, thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
When she's a bit older, when she's in 26, 27, she comes on to.
27 is right.
Well, as she gets older,
Yeah.
still in her 20s, right?
Yeah.
She comes to her own and she knows what she wants, so that's a problem.
It's not a massive problem. It's not a massive problem, but I'm gonna have to. If she's educated, beautiful,
Yeah.
still youthful,
Yeah.
mate, I'm gonna have to go to house at 11 o'clock. Flowers, like the amount of game I'm gonna have to. It's gonna be too
much game.
I'm
You've
not
got to be
even capable.
exceptional.
I'm not even capable.
You're not capable.
And second, like. I need to go sleep at 11:30, innit? Like,
I respect that. Okay.
So my timetable is too important.
I get that. I respect that. So just to summarise,
You don't have to.
just to summarise,
Because she's had the experience of guys.
I get that. Listen.
Like-
So just to summarise,
Sorry,
yeah,
yeah.
we are quite
Yeah,
time
sorry.
bound here, yeah. So fertility is one thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is being mouldable.
They're the
And-
two main things.
Yeah,
Other
they're the
things-
two main
yeah.
things. And obviously, just an ancillary thing is
Sure.
the beauty as well.
Yeah, and also remember, with men, generally speaking, if you got health on your side,
Sure.
you could have a kid at 55,
Right.
65.
Yeah. A woman can't.
If everything's fine, functioning
yeah.
well.
Generally speaking.
A woman, yeah, she don't have as much time in it. Unless you're happy and you want a kid straight away, then that's different, isn't it?
It's quite interesting. I'm just going to give my opinion
Yeah.
on that matter because I think, again, the audience will listen to that, either agree, disagree. Men that are married will probably secretly agree or disagree, probably won't voice their concerns or be indifferent. I, on the other hand, the girls that I consider or even considered, as potential suitors would generally, at this age, be 1 or 2 years younger than me. And the reason that is completely different to yours.
Sure.
If I were to before I get to this point, if I were to consider someone below 25, for argument's sake, they'd have to be exceptionally beautiful because they can't make it up. That's the only way they could make it up because they won't be able to interact with me.
Experience-wise.
Experience-wise, just
Yeah.
life experience.
Wisdom.
Mental level, intellectual level.
Yeah.
No, but
So
saying that women generally mature much faster than men.
Yeah, having said
Mentally,
that, maybe,
Scientific, biologically,
maybe this is a bit conceited of me, but
Yeah.
I've met younger girls, right?
Yeah. It's different now, though. It's different.
No,
It's
it
different.
is different.
It's
You're right.
It's different.
We mature differently. But I've
Yeah.
met 23, 24, 25, 26-year-olds, yeah? Even 26-year-olds. And
26-year-olds?
Yeah, even to that degree. And I think I automatically, make them a little sister or... because I can't put the beauty to her side
forget it,
intellectually or from life experiences.
Be on
I
the same
can't connect
page.
with them. I'm not on the same page. I can't be your friend. I can't... Even something like, do you remember S+7? Like, what are you talking about?
What are you on about?
Argument's sake, what are you talking about?
S+7.
What do kids listen to nowadays?
I don't even know, man.
I love
Whatever
it.
it may be. I'm just saying, it's just a point that I'm making.
Sure.
So it's the other way around for me.
Yeah.
The exception would be if they're young, they have to be exceptionally beautiful. Otherwise, it's not cutting it. And I'm being honest. If they're not, then you're like a little kid to me.
Say that again. They have to be young if they're
No,
young.
If they are young.
When I say young, in their early
So say 24,
early
25,
to mid 20s, yeah.
Okay.
They have to be very, very pretty for me to consider them because they can't offer me the other stuff the intellectual
Experience.
So beauty is the payoff for as the compensation for the other things missing.
Yeah, but my preference would be to go for someone that's a year younger than me, or even at the most 2 years younger than me, because I feel like in terms of culturally, in terms of generationally, and also another thing actually that you've reminded me, I need a woman that I'm slightly scared of. It's very important to me, because if I'm not a little bit scared of her, and
Not scared, I'll say keep on the toes.
No, that's it, keep on my toes.
Keep
What I mean by keeping my toes is that not because I'm scared that she's going to do this, that, and the other, but I don't want to upset her.
Yeah.
I don't want to get a lot of grief at home. I'm going to get a massive earache.
Yeah.
And also, she makes me want to be a better man.
Of course, yeah.
That's fundamentally.
That doesn't sound like being scared, or that sounds like someone who encourages you.
Yeah, I get that, but it's more if I do something wrong. For instance, if I do something wrong, it will upset her. It could be something small like, I don't know, line of my insurance, for instance. This is just an example. Just saying, line of my insurance. If she turns around and says, no, I can't have that, it's still lying. This woman, is quite, not strict, but she has certain level of integrity and ethics that makes her want to be a better man. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it makes me just be on my tiptoes a bit. And obviously, more importantly, and it's not about me giving my opinion, it's about having a friend, having a laugh, having a giggle, and companionship. Being able to, this is priceless, and I'm sure married men would either tell you yes or no, or whatever, but being able to spend X amount of hours with your wife without thinking of it as a chore.
Unconditionally.
What you just said.
Yeah.
That is surely...
That's priceless.
That's priceless.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, go on.
Because nowadays you see I see a lot of married couples,
Yeah, sure.
They get married, tekia, just because the age is coming.
What tekia means as in they had no choice.
And no choice. Mum's
They did have a choice, but that was the obvious thing at the time.
Society's telling them, mum's pushing them.
Sure.
They get sort of married on a whim.
Yeah.
They get married and 1 year later you seem like, I don't know, I wouldn't say depressed, but they're not valuing life a bit more, you know what I mean? It's just like paying the bills, a wife's nagging me for a kid, I've got to buy a house.
Life catches up.
Yeah. Whereas when you have someone that you can actually share life with, it makes the whole journey a way more treasure. Yeah.
A soulmate.
Just, it's interesting you talk about this, because I know guys who are, I think having that, you use the word companionship, I think is a very important word.
Yeah.
And, if you take it way back, Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, he was lonely in Jannah. It's in our nature to want to have companionship. It's in our nature not to be alone, right? If I could just sort of reference, I know guys who are older, married, right? Okay, kids are grown up and kids have left home, kids have gone to university, whatnot, and it's tough at home for them because they don't want to spend time with their wives.
They don't.
They've got nothing to. And if you go out to,
that's scary. That's
massively frightening. So
that's what scares me. Ain't gonna lie. Yeah.
Having that connection.
It's primal.
Is
priceless.
It's priceless, and for that to continue, right?
Yeah.
Because I've spoken to married guys, and they're like, I don't want to really see my wife.
That's sad. That's sad.
No, really. If you go to restaurants and stuff, right? You can always tell the established couples.
You can.
Because there's no conversation.
Yeah. Body language and all that.
You can tell like this is a first date. You can tell this is this.
Yeah.
You can always tell. So the companionship aspect, having a bond whereby you can speak to each other quite freely, well into old age. That's when you talk about compatibility. You need to really check that.
I think that is
hindsight is already.
I don't think I touched. Me and you touched on that, but I think that is up there with beauty.
Because you're not married to someone to pay the bills. You know what I mean?
You're higher than beauty.
Yeah, because you're higher. Because
actually, beauty's gonna fade.
Is.
I will be a bit more
technical. Not in your case.
No. From a technical perspective, beauty again lies within the eye of the beholder. That's the old adage, right? But more so, what you see in your eyes. And a married man actually once, and this was years back, he told me that his wife, looked like a balloon when she was pregnant, but in his eyes, she was beautiful.
It's all subjective.
Yeah, and his feelings and emotions, all of the stuff. Your interactions, how you treat each other, the memories and all the rest of it, that matters. And just back to your point, Brother Fareed, which is very important. Companionship, can I just ask?
Yeah.
Companionship, like anything else, and I'll use another pathetic example, going to the gym and having muscles, right? If you stop doing it, your muscles will sort of dilapidate or it'll wither away.
Yeah.
Equally with companionship and building that bond, it's something that you need to work on, if I may say.
Absolutely, because the thing is,
kids will get in the way.
And married men will tell you this often. They say that once you have kids, you go down the pecking order, right? So you could be the love of your wife's life, yeah.
Sure.
But then the moment kids start coming in, her priorities are going to start to change. You're going to start moving down the pecking order. can I just touch on that fertility point? Because
Please, yeah.
I think that's a really interesting thing that you mentioned about the age bracket for marriage and stuff. Now, the thing with fertility, right, is that I've known women couldn't conceive in their 20s, couldn't conceive in their 30s. Suddenly they turn like 41 and they become pregnant.
Subhanallah,
So
that's beautiful.
what I would say is that with fertility, right, it's important, and I understand what we're talking about here is that
It's a general
we're
assumption.
we're dealing with probabilities, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, we're dealing with like, is she more likely to conceive at a particular age than at a later stage? But I would say, just to throw the Islamic angle in here again, right? Of course, we have to trust in Allah, right? I have a cousin who I saw recently. He came from Austria. He got married when he was 27 years old, right? And now he's 36 and just had his first son.
MashaAllah.
You know, alhamdulillah, you know. So like, fertility, you don't know, but I can understand the anxiety of that because I'm 45 now, and I'm thinking to myself like,
You'll have kids, inshallah.
Inshallah,
Inshallah.
I'm thinking like, I want to have kids. You know, I need to pass this genetic information down. Right?
Definitely, a legacy, yeah.
So, you know, that's a big topic, man. Fertility is a very big topic, and alhamdulillah, I'll say one thing, yeah. With Muslims, we're very blessed.
Why is that?
Because do you not see, like, look at our population?
Yeah, the number of children we have,
We're able to have children, you know, and some of our women have children when they're 45, 46, you know?
Of course, it could happen.
menopause babies and whatnot, right?
We're usually off the big family type.
But yeah, no, I just wanted to sort of throw that in there.
Thank you, if I may. A quick question to you, and this is a question that was asked to me to ask, and I think it's quite interesting. So how far is the early persona for the real person? Now, I'm just going to paint the picture here. You've met this girl, you've known her perhaps for a week to a month to 2 months, early stages.
Yeah.
Will you be a bit sheepish? Will you be on the fence? Or does your persona come out straight away?
Right, so personally, I've got that bit of guideline. I'll probably say I'll spend about 4 weeks chatting to her. I'll see sort of how she is, how she speaks, mannerism, body language.
No, the question, I get that, but what I'm asking is, will you be on your best behaviour, or will you be like, this is who I am, you can either like it or lump it?
There's certain things you got to hide, like in terms of, you might not be comfortable with is sort of exposing one or two things.
Your fascist opinions,
Yeah,
stuff like that, yeah.
I think, I'll probably give myself now, you're too old now to sort of hide away, do you know what I mean?
So you be yourself. So what you're saying is...
I think you have to be, for integrity and transparency.
I agree, because I think by being yourself, you allow the other person to truly see your personality, how you are. And to be fair, there is no right answer to this, and please weigh in here, and yourself. It depends on what, connection you have. You might meet someone and they might be hesitant, and you as a man, you have to make them feel confident and trust you, and then slowly they lower their guard. Or it could be that you come out blasé and they're blasé as well.
I'll give you my opinion on this, right?
Tell me.
So the early stages, right? Everyone's on their best behaviour,
right? Yeah.
Right. So say you're a person who swears, right? And it's hard for people who swear not to swear, right? But they go to great effort to they use the old cliched ones, sugar and all that kind of stuff, right? So the early stages, you're on your best behaviour, right? But I'll tell you what I've noticed from experience. A period will come where the mask slips.
Right?
And then one of the ways that you really know each other is by extremes, right? So one of you gets angry.
Yeah.
Then you know what they're like. You have to, when you get into those kind of situations, what kind of person that they really are. And I used to do something quite bad in the early stages, right? I would deliberately get them angry just to see how they react. Yeah. It's a wicked thing to do, right? I'm old and wiser now. I wouldn't do that now because it will just come out organically. You'll find out what they're like. But definitely there's a slipping of the mask.
Thank you. You've actually sort of answered my second question, but I'm going to ask it to you again. And this was also a question put to me. When do people show their true colours? Now I'm going to expand on this. So there's stages, right? There's someone that could be a prince in, shining armour. And after I do, well, in our case, is Kabul. Yeah, is it Kabul? You say Kabul as well?
Kabul,
Kabul, I agree, I accept it. Yeah. After that, and then you see people's true colours come out. And then, he does not as good looking, or he stinks, or whatever. I'm just making a joke. But is it, so I'm not talking about that true colours, because it's done, it's a done deal now. You've got to deal with it. You didn't do your due diligence. But prior to that, when do people show their true colours? Now I'm going to give you two. Is it when they know it's not going to happen? It's not going to happen.
Or it's too late to go back.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And you know what? I'm going to tell you what I think of you exactly.
Yeah.
because I don't care anymore. There's, you know,
That definitely exists. I agree with that one.
yeah, that. So it's either that, is it that, or is it when the other person is besotted with you, and it doesn't really matter. So you're gonna. Ordinarily, if it was a girl that you didn't fancy, or you know, it's level pegging, you were right, so you're gonna be in your best behaviour, or you're gonna creep tiptoe. This girl, she's smitten, besotted over you. You know, you could come out with whatever. Yeah, it's essentially
It's both.
It's both.
So the first one is definitely the case. If you're feeling a bit bitter, something's happened and she's let you go or you've let her go, they can be a sharp reaction, let's say.
Sure.
Right. And in terms of the second thing, this is what we're like as people, right? So men love to chase.
Yeah.
Women love to be chased.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
That's inherent within us. That's in our natural disposition,
yeah.
right? Now, the reason I think personally, right, one of the reasons why women draw back or make it difficult because they don't want to be easy. You know? I'm not talking about anything haram here.
Just to more navigate the question. When do they show their true colours? It's when is it that
when you seal the deal, kind of thing, yeah. Like when you know she's yours.
that's when you show your true colours.
Some men might just go, you know what, she's mine now. And after you're married, like what do you do? It's too late.
And true colours, I'm presuming that the person that asked me this question, because this was sent to me via email, it was a sample survey that I did, so I don't know who it was that actually wrote this. I'm presuming they mean true colours in a negative way.
Yes, absolutely. It must be like their true nature.
Yeah, their true.
This guy's
more true negative nature because they've masqueraded something, which isn't true.
That's a really good question, right? Because what about resilience under pressure?
Yeah.
That's a part of your true nature.
Yeah, of course.
When people use the expression true colours, it can only be negative in my reckoning.
Thank you. Right, just to expand on that question a bit further, and boys do weigh in or chip in to add to what I'm going to say. So people, I think from a man and woman's perspective, and this brother eloquently said earlier on that he used to use a tactic and he doesn't do anymore, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. He'll wind the girl up just to see how she is when she's angry. Because if you can tolerate her when she's angry,
put in the corner and all that. Yeah.
If you can tolerate her when she's angry, then it's good. It's a good one because you can tolerate her at her worst, and vice versa. But in terms of challenging people's true colours, I'm meaning that be the deceptive element of things, whether they're concealing things or they're not an honest person or they want to tell you what you want to hear, sort of thing. How do you tackle that and how do you approach it? Even though, you know, how do you approach it? I'd say is that you have to, as a person, if I'm always honest with you, you might in your nature be one that lies all the time, but because I'm honest to you, eventually you'll be honest with me. But also I think it comes down to trust. So so what I do anyway, generally speaking, not just with a female or a woman or anything, just friends or how I am, I make sure that the person that I'm with, they can trust me enough, and this comes down to integrity.
Goes a long way,
Trust me enough with the integrity to be how they are.
How they are,
It sort of bites when you find out something that they're not, and that becomes a massive problem.
You sort of skip the facade, innit?
Yeah. So in terms of this presuming sister's question about when do people show their true colours, that could happen anytime. But presumably it's when, you know, they've got you in the bag or you're married or they think nothing's going to happen, so I'm going to swear at you or say some bad things to you. But just to prevent yourself from getting any nasty surprises, I'd say be honest, stick to your principles, and also make sure you foster a culture of trust. It's very important, because if that person feels like they can't trust you, you're going to be judging, then they may lie to you. You might back them into a corner. Brother Fareed, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know.
Tell me I'm talking.
No, that's quite that's an involved topic, you know. I don't know. I mean, showing your true colours.
Sometimes, it could take a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, even 1 year later, or even after when you're married.
Yeah,
you might see that.
Of course.
But I would say I'd probably have that. I'd put it instill inside me, like have that responsibility, have the onus to make sure I can see that inside her before I even get married.
Do you know what? I think I could make quite an interesting point because so we're talking about true colours and like sealing it and it's all done, it's coming out. But do you know what? There's another interesting situation because sometimes you might meet someone, you might meet someone, and obviously if we're talking about marriage, you want to sort of maintain the relationship as halal as possible. And you're not going to date for 2-3 years. You're not going to go France with her on Valentine's. Because you want to keep it as halal as possible, right? So what I'm trying to say, sometimes sometimes you can meet a girl, through whatever, could be app, CV, you could one of your colleagues from work, whatever, and sometimes especially because we're older now, we could, if a woman is, it could be a man as well. If a woman is, for example, I don't know, like, you know, she's going with the flow. So she's like, you guys are talking, texting, this, that, but it takes like nearly 3 weeks to organize a date.
Right.
Yeah, and this is through introduction, yeah. So you've tried hooking me up with one of your colleagues.
Yeah.
So you're talking you're texting every other day. You might speak on the phone, whatever. And you try to arrange a date maybe 3 times now.
Right.
It's busy. Like we're older now. We got
That's
a clock.
alarm bells. Yeah.
You got. I think men are always gonna chase. Forget what Tate saying that. Yeah, one call. She don't pick up, delete a number.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a millionaire like that anyway. Like, but
No, if you're a millionaire, do that. Anyway, carry on with your point. That's what's up.
it was a show.
Think about
I
that.
should do that anyway.
You should do it anyway. I mean,
Yeah. You gotta show respect at this age, man.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
So my point is, look, like it's hard. Sometimes you see a girl, you're connecting with her, she's beautiful, but I think you gotta just like, because joy is, if you gotta just like respect yourself and
dignity.
Because joy is, at the end of-
Sorry, I've completely.
Sorry.
What's the point? What's the point?
my
you're trying
point
to
is,
make?
maybe because we're talking about being upfront and showing your true colours towards the end. The deal's done.
No.
So I'm talking about-
No.
sometimes,
It's
yeah.
not about showing your true colours. It's about identifying who's been deceptive.
Yeah.
It's not showing your true. So true colours usually comes
yeah.
as a derogatory term,
Yeah.
but it's just being deceptive.
Sure.
And sometimes
Yeah.
people feel they need to do that because they're either pulling wool over your eyes or they just feel like they can trust you. Yeah.
Keyword deceptive. That's
Yeah.
the keyword deceptive.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that's one scenario.
Okay.
You know, because nowadays, let's face it. Let's be honest. Nowadays, if I speak to someone,
Yeah.
unless it's through like a proper connection,
Sure.
nowadays people are talking to multiple people.
Sure.
At the same time nowadays,
Right.
until like
They are.
when it's like done, if you meet up a few times, she likes you, you like
Sure.
her back, whatever. But that is a scenario now. So I think
So what you're saying is stick to your guns.
try, it's hard, but it will benefit you long term.
Sure. Thank you, Knight.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, it comes down to 2 things for me, yeah?
Right.
Vocabulary, how she speaks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How she is with other people around her.
Right. Yeah.
And body language. Now, without her saying anything to me directly, I can gauge that and I can decide for myself whether she is being deceitful or whether she's got true colours inside her. I think as men, we have to have that sort of prerequisite in our mind to sort of gauge that
So
with the
her
girls.
adab,
Yeah.
akhlaq.
Just the way girls will look at us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before we even do an action.
So you can tell when you're being deceived.
I would like to think I know.
You can see
yeah.
past the mask.
Sometimes, yeah. I would like, yeah. I've learned to have that, yeah.
Yeah, do you know it's a good point that brother makes
Yeah.
here because
You have to.
the more
Yeah.
experienced you become,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The more you interact with people, it's like friendships, right?
Yeah.
You know when a friend's not real.
Yeah.
You know when a friend's gonna stab you in the back.
Mm.
You know, but yeah, I think
Do
it's
you know-
hard
do-
to
do-
always
do you know
see
what?
Sorry,
past
just a
the mask.
second. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I was just gonna say
Sorry.
sorry. I was gonna say it's very hard to see past the mask, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
circumstance. The thing is, right? One of the things that we don't do as Muslims enough is pray istikhara.
Yeah, true,
You know,
true.
so we'll sit around a table. We'll have consultation with each other, but we never ask Allah, right? Because I've seen miracles upon miracles with istikhara. You know,
Yeah.
things that you think something's good, and then suddenly you pray istikhara, and then their true colors come out.
Right,
Sure,
yeah.
Allah brings about the circumstances for you to see what someone's like, and vice versa. He'll bring about the circumstances for them to see what we're like. You know, because it's both ways, right? You know.
You know what I have to say, Jazakallah khairan. That I think that wrapped up that question. Just moving on, we are very
How long have we got?
time bound. We've probably got about another 5 minutes as such.
5
and
minutes?
there's another controversial. This is very enjoyable, huh? Yeah, this has been very enjoyable.
Eight, we've got 8
Yeah?
minutes.
You enjoyed it? Enjoyed it? Good. Look at me trying to wrap up. There is another question. There is another question, and this I think is an endemic in our community. So I'm not sure what this boy's name is, and perhaps he has OCD. He's quite big on TikTok and Instagram. You know who I'm talking about? The guy that cleans, hoovers,
Yeah.
cooks.
I don't know him personally, but yeah, I've seen
don't
him
mention his
online.
name, but you know who I'm talking about, right? He knows what I'm talking about.
I don't know his name, but he's famous.
He's probably younger than us, so probably in his mid-20s, and he cooks and cleans and hoovers with great pride, and he makes videos about it.
It's one way to make money.
Yeah, I mean, he makes videos. The trouble is, he's setting a precedent on something unprecedented. That's what I think. And what I mean by that is, this isn't normal. I appreciate that that's his passion and he enjoys doing it, right? I get that. But for him to advertise it, it sort of tells girls his age, girls growing up, or even girls perhaps even older.
He's lowering the bar for normal men.
Yeah,
on that.
this is normal.
100%,
Men should do it. And
Yeah.
to be fair, there is always the Islamic take on
ban
it.
or
You know,
that.
you should help out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, we come, and again, like I said, this podcast will address societal,
Issues,
communal
yeah.
expectations and establishments as well, historically, right? Your granddad didn't cook. Your granddad didn't cook and clean. Your dad didn't cook and clean.
Right,
You
yeah,
probably are.
This is the first time in history.
First time in history. So this is the question.
Yeah, you're right.
This
First
is
time
the,
in history.
this is the question here. And women, and you know what? I may have an episode with 3 women on. I'll be doing a similar podcast, which might be very interesting if they do come on.
Right.
I don't think they'll like me, man.
Okay.
What I said.
Anyway, let me ask you the question. Will you be domesticated? And again, I'm not saying it in a judgmental way. I'm asking you, will you be domesticated in the sense that you will help out in cooking, cleaning, ironing, the household chores that need to be done? And how far would you go? Now, I want to ask that question to you first. Iqbal, I want to ask you that question. I want a literally 30-second answer.
30-second answer.
Less than that, please.
Sure. All right. Honestly speaking,
Yeah.
I will. Of course, I will. But it'll be more when I see my wife is struggling. Like.
So it wouldn't be de facto?
No.
Only when she's struggling, so she's got kids flying up and down?
Yeah, kids. Maybe sometimes working late in the office, maybe 6-7 o'clock. I'll be like, okay, I had a half day. Use my intellect in that.
So
maybe it was my day off.
So you'd use common sense, but generally speaking, your expectations is for her to do the household
That
chores.
would be my expectations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yourself?
There's some things that I would want to get involved with just because,
Like what?
just to strengthen the relationship with the woman,
I get that.
bonding and all
Yeah.
that.
Like
But I'm
what?
saying cooking is one thing because I don't cook at all. So it would
Okay,
be
right.
nice for me to learn
How to
to
cook,
cook
yeah.
and help my wife at the same time.
That's nice, isn't it? Very sweet.
Yeah.
Very sweet
And at the end of the day, we're both eating at the same time.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay, so-
Cleaning
yeah.
and cooking. I mean, it depends. I don't know. If you want me to scrub that 20 towels, it's a bit. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
in terms of like, taking the bins out and whatnot, that's not a problem.
That's
yeah.
nothing.
More
Yeah.
DIY stuff.
Yeah.
But
But,
so,
it's
you
all
know
about
what?
pitching in and
Interesting. So there is some sort of conformity.
Of course,
You're
yeah.
a bit more right wing.
You can't be a
but-
man,
No, I would help out.
No, I get. No,
Seriously.
listen. I'm not painting you. I
Yeah,
respect
yeah,
your
sure,
view.
sure.
You're a bit more right wing.
Yeah.
He's a bit more liberal, and
And your point now, right? So I'd say it depends, right? Yes, the answer is yes. I would be domesticated. I would cook. I would clean. And the reason for that is living off the man's income alone in the modern age is going to be very difficult in a marriage, right? So if your wife works and brings in an income,
Sure.
and runs the house, right? In our deen, everything she spends on the family is called sadaqah, because she has a right over the man to provide for her. So if she's going to go and earn money as well, then as a minimum, I should be taking part in the household chores, cooking,
Yeah.
cleaning, etc.
It goes a long way.
It's a partnership, man.
Yeah,
It's,
it
you know what I mean?
it
It's a
goes a long
partnership.
way.
I echo that because that is real life.
Yeah.
You're not going to be bringing the proverbial bacon in altogether. It's very hard these days.
Yeah,
it's very
true.
hard.
Call it the bread, yeah.
Call it the bread.
Bacon, mate.
It's very hard these days, and if she's expected to work, and as you said, that traditionally and historically they have been part accustomed to women's roles, but nowadays she's going to be earning money as well, and also
Would
she
you
has
want?
a life
Would,
as
would
well.
you want your wife to work?
Oh, interesting. You're asking me a question now, yeah?
Would you want your wife to work?
Yes. Only ideally in a situation that I'm financially stable, she works because she wants to work,
Yeah.
not because she has to.
And she can spend all money and
Yeah,
whatnot.
so whatever. But in terms of, I'll answer that question as well, parts of domesticated, right? Bit like yourself, bless my mum, she does everything for me.
Yeah.
From cooking to putting
Yeah.
food on the table to ironing.
Yeah.
The list goes on. I'm going to be despised after this. However, what experiences have taught me, because to be fair, I don't know how to use a washing machine. That doesn't mean I can't.
I don't either,
It
yeah.
takes 5 minutes
Yeah.
on a YouTube to understand how to use a washing machine.
Yeah.
Less.
Less than that. So ultimately for me, because I was quite staunch and right wing, extremely right wing as I was growing up.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, I'd like to think wiser. For the right woman, yes, it'd be a partnership, because I personally, and I'm sure you guys will echo this, you want to find a soulmate that you can benefit and help and grow together with and make your life
It's a collective
easier.
effort. Yeah.
Thank you. Right. This is my last question. This is a bit of a brain teaser. I think you've all contributed. Thank you very much. And I will start with, you know what? You'll answer this question really well. I'm going to start with one of these two boys. Nahid. So we've said what we want from women, right?
Right,
What
yeah.
we're expecting, what we want from women, ideal women, so and so, so, so. Give me your top 3 attributes that you think are your great strengths. Just from the top of your head now. What are your top selling 3 attributes?
I'd say
3 words.
Humility.
quick. Yeah, humility, okay.
generosity
Yeah.
and open-minded.
Okay. Iqbal?
So in terms of a marriage or
No,
or
your attributes. What are your selling points? Your 3 top attribute selling points.
Okay. I would say I'm open-minded.
Okay.
I could get along with anyone.
Okay. Personable.
Personable,
Right, yeah.
and I feel like I could read the room. I feel like I don't know, like it's
What
actually.
is the word for that? Reading the room.
I'll say high awareness.
High awareness. Yeah. So
I feel like
Emotional
do you know
intelligence.
what it is? I feel like I got a lot of general knowledge now.
okay, you've got fair enough. So
General
they're your
knowledge.
3 attributes, and they're your 3 attributes. So if, by the way, I asked you these questions.
Was it marriage related or just,
Obviously, what are we talking about?
Oh, sorry.
We're talking
We're not
about
talking about
an
ducks, mate.
interview.
I'm
giving you a job.
I thought it was
Anyway, it's done anyway. I'm running out of time.
Oh,
Number
sure.
3.
Right, so I'm gonna answer differently because I'm taken. So I'll advise the sisters who are looking for brothers for marriage. Then look for these 3 qualities.
Your top 3 qualities, please.
Nah, I was talking about humility earlier. So
That's fine. Let him do it.
Okay, let me go this way, right? So the first thing is look for rujula, yeah? Look for manhood. Look for the qualities of manhood, right?
Trust me.
And that doesn't mean someone who has a beard. That's not manhood,
Or
right?
driving a BM or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Big
Right?
up BMW though.
Well, Mercedes, but yeah.
So look for a man with classical rujula, yeah? Classical manhood, right?
Yeah.
Look for a guy with mercy. Okay, look for a guy whose heart is full of mercy. Okay, that's the second thing I would say. And look for a guy who has deep understanding of your nature. Good luck with the third one, right?
You know what? I think I may have to bring you on to another show. I'm not going to delve into specific things rather than this broad category, but
Inshallah.
it's very good. I'll just give my top 3 because I've asked you as well. And it would be, I'd like to think that I'm strong, trustworthy and kind. They're the 3 things I offer.
Strong in what way? Mentally strong or aesthetically strong?
Both.
Both.
Both. Look, you can vouch for it. Look,
Yeah,
you
both,
can.
man.
You can vouch. But anyway, thank you very much. Thank you for watching and tuning in. This was our first episode. We're going to have a lot more episodes to come, and we're going to be discussing, inshallah, controversial topics that are usually just assumed. People don't actually speak about it. So do tune in. Below will be the Twitter, Instagram account. Make a comment if you're offended. Make a comment if you like it. Make a comment.
Yeah.
Make a comment. Snap it. Whatever it is that you do, you kids and adults. Everyone is welcome. And if you do, if anything that has caused you any offence, I speak on behalf of everyone here. No one has singled out or particularly insulted anyone. It's just general remarks, and we're just thinking, as the title of the show is. What's the title of the show?
Silent majority.
Silent Majority. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.